Hi.
Hi.
Welcome to Steph's Box.
Wow. I feel like I'm being serenaded by angels right now.
It's pretty cool, huh?
Awesome. What is that called?
It's called Your Mom's Box. No, it's
Oh,
Kalimba.
ouch.
Sorry, I'm sure she's a lovely lady.
She's not. She's horrible.
Okay. Well,
That's why I'm a comedian.
hell yeah. No, same here. Wow. Speaking of, I'm here with Emmy Award-winning writer and producer Ryan McKee.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here on Steph's Box.
In Steph's Box.
In Steph's Box, sorry.
Yeah. On, in, it's adjacent. It's all good. So yeah. You got your award for you were producing for James Corden, correct?
Yes. So, started off on Late Late Show when James Corden got the job as like a digital producer. They hired me to kind of write and produce all their bits that were not going to be on the TV show. They wanted to do like a heavy YouTube present, like backstage videos and stuff. And then ultimately started doing more for the show and wrote and produced this short form series, comedy series called James Corden's Next James Corden. And that's what won the Emmy for Best Short Form content. Yeah.
Yeah. So people throw the term out producer all over the place now.
Yeah.
Like in the music industry, everybody's a producer, and a lot of people don't seem to know what that word means.
Yeah.
So for the layman's in the audience, could you explain like kind of what your deal as a producer was, or like your expectations of?
Sure. I mean that you're right. Producers, they use it as a very general term, and for television in particular, or television and movies in particular, it's helpful because there's no like strict producers guild. Right. So if you can only call somebody a writer in television, if it's if they're in the Writers Guild,
right, or SAG,
or
SAG,
you don't
get either of those.
So the producers, they use it for real generic terms. So you can have like an executive producer who just happens to put up the money for something and then have nothing else to do with it, or like James Corden is an executive producer on shows that he doesn't have much to do with. They just put his name on it.
Right.
For me in particular,
someone's cousin Vinny just happens to be related. And
Exactly. So it can be just kind of a trophy term, but for me it never was, because my name doesn't bring a lot of credo to a project.
That's why you're on Steph's Box.
Yeah, exactly. I created, I came up with the concept for the show. I wrote all the scripts. I helped cast it. I helped produce it. I helped in the post-production. So I pretty much did everything on that. And that's I was kind of a Swiss Army knife type of person at Corden while I was there. So I did everything from writing, helping produce segments, helping edit like YouTube videos, everything in between.
That's awesome. That's how I like to do things too.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if you get too many cooks in the kitchen, then the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. You get some like bullshit like Marvel Universe movie, some like factory made assembly line product, like entertainment product.
Yeah.
Like content.
It's also very good for people like me who aren't amazing at one thing, but like pretty good at enough things where it helps to have me around.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. Just Jill of all trades, shitty at most of them.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
So what got you into that? What landed you that gig in the first place?
So, I had moved out to LA wanting to just pursue comedy and writing, but didn't know much about it. Like I'd started doing comedy for a few years in Phoenix, Arizona after I graduated ASU, and was producing kind of my own shows, like in downtown Phoenix, kind of in like try, a little more on like the art scene rather than like the comedy scene, because I thought I was real edgy and punk rock. And moved to LA, kind of got into, started getting into television by just doing production assistant work.
Right, walking around with a clipboard and a set of headphones pretending you know what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. My first gig was working for Adult Swim's Tom Goes to the Mayor, which was Tim and Eric's first show.
Oh, okay.
As like an intern.
Oh, nice.
And then kind of worked my way up. Eventually met my now wife. She got a job in New York, so I followed her out there. Started doing a bunch of like writing and producing freelance. Eventually got hired at MTV to do that. Worked at MTV for 5 years. And then when James Corden took over Late Late Show, they were looking for someone to fill the role that I eventually had. I knew one of the first writers who was hired there, Sean O'Connor, because I knew him from doing comedy around New York, and he recommended me, and yeah, that's how it worked.
Yep, they always say it's a who you know business.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which is interesting, and because in LA, right? Because I mean, we both spent a significant amount of time there, and we were talking at one of your lovely beach house parties that you've been making a staple of here in town.
There's been a whole two of them. There's gonna be more.
It's a good vibe and everything, but we were having that talk about motivations to leave Los Angeles for a smaller town like Wilmington.
Yeah.
And you brought up something that was something I struggled with a lot, was not feeling like you could finding it difficult to make meaningful connections on a personal level with people. I mean, I was out there for 17 years, and people, I had friends come and go, and like long-term friends, maybe one or two, and then, but it's like so easy to just like, there's so many people, it's just like, oh, well, they did something that pissed me off, I'm just gonna slip off into the crowd and never have to deal with that again.
Yeah, I mean, it's both New York and LA are similar in this sense that, in my experience, where I've met a lot of awesome people, I have awesome friends who I met in there, but it's such a transient culture,
right?
That people they move on to other stuff all the time. They get famous, they drop out and do heroin, everything in between. And so, it does feel very temporary a lot of times. I mean, you will make. I feel like if you move out there young enough, you will make some meaningful connections, because the younger you are, like, people are just desperate to connect with people, right? But the older you get, people are married, they have kids, they have careers, families, so it's harder and harder to make meaningful connections. Whereas here, people just, Wilmington's awesome because people are just like down to hang out and
exactly. I remember. I mean, I moved out to LA when I was 20, and but I didn't drive. I lived in Calabasas when I first got there.
Yeah.
I mean, Calabasas. And, I worked in the game industry, so it's like 15-hour days, like 7 days a week almost. And, but I remember, at a certain point, like when you, in a big city, you ask, hey, you want to hang out sometime? It's like, what the hell are you talking about? What, hang out? Like, what does that mean? Like, well, I don't know. Like, you can come over, we can, like, have a couple beers, listen to music, like, talk, maybe watch some cartoons. I don't know, play some games. I don't know, just fucking nothing on the docket. Just unscheduled hangout time. And people look at you like you got an extra, an extra lump.
Yeah. I remember Annie, my wife and I, we met a couple when we were just out at a bar in New York, and we were like, oh, we were having like the best time with them. We're like, we should hang out again soon. And they're like, yeah, they pull up their calendar. They're like, can you do in 2 months? We're I mean, that's how it really is.
Let's do lunch.
And to be friends with people, I feel like you got to kind of see them weekly, to really establish any kind of rapport.
Right. Yeah. I mean, It's I mean, it's hard for me to remember somebody's name unless, I see them, on a semi-regular basis for a few months. Or, I mean, when I first met you, it was when I was hosting the open mic at Bottega last year. And you remember, like I told you the story, and it just still cracks me up. But you came in with Chad, right? Male Karen. No, he's great. And to do you were very funny, but we just had a casual. Oh, you're from LA too. Cool. Nice to meet you. And then it was like 2 nights later, I was at Hop Yard for a comedy show, and you were walking around there, and I said to Mark, I was like, that guy looks really familiar. Who's that? And then I saw Ryan McKee, and then you got up on stage, and I'm like, oh, he's wearing glasses.
So it threw you.
Yeah, no, like autism. Yeah, the face blindness. Yeah, it's like a.
Yeah, you told me that after the show. I was like, yeah, we talked after the show. You're like, oh, I had no idea who you were until you got up on stage.
Yeah. It was just, the glasses. Which, you ever see the show The Tick?
Yeah, of course.
Which iterations? Because there's been 3 now.
Well, I watched the cartoon when I was a kid, and I know there was like a second one on Fox, like a live action one for very briefly.
Patrick Warburton.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I have not seen the newest one though. No.
Okay. Yeah, the newest one. Oh, so good. I shed some tears when Amazon canceled it because I was like, oh, there's so. Yeah, I fucking loved it.
And that's a big deal for you. You don't usually cry.
Oh, I cry all the time. Yeah. The callous, psychopathic exterior is, it's a survival mechanism. Like I have very deep feelings. But I'm not afraid to get up and say on stage and just say whatever. I got nothing left to lose. That's really all it is, right?
That's when you're in the most creative spot.
Right. Which I've stayed in that spot for the past, 21 years. So, but going back to, okay, so you have seen the Fox one. That's the one that it reminds me of. There's you remember they're trying to get into the League of Heroes, the exclusive hero, and it was what was his name? The Superman parody. Captain Amazing or something like that.
Yeah, I can't remember, yeah.
And but it turns out, his alter ego is like the sleazy lawyer, and he's a misogynist and a racist and all this shit, and he's like, and so the Tick and Arthur, Arthur's trying to tell him oh wait, no, this guy's a sleazeball, and
right.
And Tick's when he finally figures it out, oh yeah, no, that's not okay, and then he goes into the locker room and goes to confront him, and he's like, oh, amazing, there you are. Yeah, I've got to tell you about this lawyer guy. He's he's a bad deal. He's rotten apple. And then he puts his glasses on, and he's like, wait, how did you get in here? and the bit just it just keeps going. Every time he just takes the glasses off, Tick's like, oh, amazing, you just missed him. He was right here.
Yeah, so you're saying you can be fooled that easily?
Yes. Yeah, but I think it's important to be
I'll have to really throw you if I put
weaknesses.
on those Groucho Marx glasses.
Yeah.
And you're like, whoa. It's totally invisible.
Oh yeah, last time I was at a house party, Matt Milner was there. You know him?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he had
name dropper.
Yeah, he had dropping local comedians that nobody outside of his
Matt
town
Milner is not a nobody. Stop talking so much shit. I'm sorry, Matt Milner.
Fuck you, Matt Milner. I'll see you on the 24th at the show. No, but yeah, he just changed his beard or something.
Yeah.
It was, and we're at this house party, and I'm talking to him, and I'm like, oh, so yeah, what's your deal? Where are you from? And he was like, Steph, it's me. And I'm like, what? So Matt. And I'm like, oh. Yeah.
But the good thing is you're very open and honest about it. Right. Whereas a lot of weird comedians, they're just weird to you.
Yeah.
And they don't tell you why, or that they don't recognize you. Yeah. Like it doesn't throw me when after like 20 years of doing it doesn't throw me when a comedian who I just met is then weird to me like the next night.
Oh, yeah.
I just figure like, oh, whatever.
Oh, like Cam Smith, like he's the greatest troll. Like he had me convinced for the first 9 months that I knew him that he was a devout Christian, like a born again evangelical. Because I'm just gullible.
Until you saw him on stage.
Well, no, even then, like I don't know. It's just he's just always doing a bit, you know. But,
yeah, exactly.
But when I had him on the podcast, it was great to, you know, kind of meet the real guy after all that time. But, you know, yeah, comedy is a weird thing to pursue. Like I don't know. What do you think? Do you think a well-adjusted person is right for comedy, or tends to even have like a drive to want to do something?
Is this a rhetorical question?
No.
No, I don't think any normal people, maybe outside of Seinfeld, pursue comedy, but or well-adjusted, whatever you want to say. Like I'm sorry to use the word normal, not normalize abnormal, whatever.
Seinfeld's not well-adjusted.
Yeah, no, I know, but he claims he is.
Well, my aunt, he used to like hit on her all the time because when they worked at the CBS building next to each other, and they'd see each other in the hall and the elevator, and he'd like flirt with her all the time, and she said he always acted like a little kid, you know, just like, hi Lori, like it's just like insecure and just, and I mean, you know, all this material is just so much fluff and superficial nonsense. That's not well adjusted.
No, I mean, it's not well. If you decide that you want to pursue something where you get on stage and say nobody else talks, I'm going to talk into a microphone. Yeah. You're all going to listen. Yeah. I want to be the center of attention in this crappy bar. Yeah. It's not. You're probably not well adjusted. I certainly am not.
Yeah. How long? When did you know you wanted to do stand-up?
I mean, I started saying that I wanted to be a stand-up comedian when I was maybe in 4th grade. Mm-hmm. And then lost, you know, I kind of lost my nerve when I got to college and didn't really pursue comedy, but knew I just said I wanted to be like a general writer. Right. And because I just felt like stand-up comedy, you know, I went to college in 97, so there was like no YouTube, there was no real, there was just Comedy Central, and I didn't know, like there was no,
and it was still new then.
Yeah, it was still new, and I didn't even know how one got from like not doing stand-up comedy to then
totally
doing it. So it's sort of writer, and then after college, you know, I got really into like, I had always been into like the punk scene and like the ska scene, and so I was really into zines, you know, and independent publications, counterculture, and so I was like, you know, I've never seen a zine about comedy, so that's what I started, and I started interviewing a lot of comedians, and really it was just an excuse to like talk to famous comedians to figure out what they did to get into comedy, and then I just kind
of secrets.
Yeah, exactly. And then I just used that to convince myself to actually go and do it.
Nice. So college in 97, so you're just a few years older.
Yeah, I'm 43.
43, 41. So yeah, I was class in 99. I never graduated, but fuck it. Education is school is not a place for intelligent people.
Agreed. That's why I was able to graduate.
Yeah. Well, I tried to test out. They wouldn't let me. Well, my parents wouldn't let me. They were like, you got to do the work. It's like, what work? It's just busy nonsense work. It's just like they're making me do the same stuff over and over and over again. Yeah. It's just, no. But anyway, yeah. Fuck you, Fulton County Milton High School in Fulton County.
We're coming for you.
Yeah. It's where Marjorie Taylor Greene represents.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so if you want to know what my freshman year of high school, or my first 2 years of high school were like, just think about her and her Jewish space lasers.
Absolutely
really?
Makes sense.
Really? Why would they start the California wildfires? Like, Hollywood won't work if you burn it down, Marjorie.
Seriously. Yeah. They can't get their message out if Hollywood's not working.
Right. At least come up with a good conspiracy theory. Yeah.
I do know where Fulton is. I think I've been through there.
You know, like Roswell, Alpharetta, like where David Cross is from.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Yeah, it's not far from where the KKK epicenter, like where the big carving in the mountain and like,
right. Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Georgia. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We had KKK show up at our high school once, and like we had to go on lockdown, and there were news vans and all. This was like pre-Columbine, so
yeah, absolutely.
It was, yay. Okay. Yeah, fuck you, Fulton County.
Feel good, Fulton County.
Yeah. So how old were you when you finally did your first mic?
Technically, I did my first mic in college when I was 21, I think, 21, and it went really well. Or what I thought was really well. Right. But it was like a very kind room with a lot of people who knew me.
Yeah.
And then I didn't really do it again until I think I was 23, 24, by the time I got enough nerve to do it. And I really just, myself and my best friend, Ron Babcock is his name, and we just wanted to be like Mr. Show 2.0.
Right.
And so we thought we were doing like edgy alt comedy, and we would go to musician open mics with instruments that we didn't know how to play and just tell jokes and bang on the instruments and try to do like really esoteric stuff like that.
Yeah.
But finally we kind of came back. By the time I was 24, I was doing like more traditional, like actual stand-ups.
Setup and punchline.
Yeah. I mean, they weren't good, but I was doing them.
See, that's something I've wanted to do. I wanted to do it since around the same time, like 7 or 8 years old. I saw like Carlin on HBO when cable first became a thing, and I'm like, oh my god, you could do that, like,
right.
But it's painfully autistic growing up, so it's like and by the time I was like around that 21 years old, I mean, I was just like music 100%. Like I just. I mean, you see all the instruments everywhere. That's just, but I also realized, I mean, I've been a writer my whole life too. In fact, I've had a couple of people tell me I was the reincarnation of H.P. Lovecraft.
Oh, that's a big compliment.
I had a 5th grade teacher pull me aside after class. And I thought I was in trouble, so I started crying. She's like, "No, you're not. You're not in trouble. I just want to talk to you about your creative writing assignment." And I'm like, "Oh." She's like, "Well, yeah. I was wondering, have you ever heard of H.P. Lovecraft?" And I'm like, "No." And she's like, "Okay, well, he's a little dark, but I think you're mature. I think you're mature enough. You should read him." And I'm like, "Okay." And she's like, "Well, I say that because you write surprisingly just like him."
Oh, that's cool. That's a huge compliment.
Yeah. And then I had another teacher tell me that a couple of years later, and I never read them until I was in my early 20s, and I was like, fucking heck, I know how all these stories end. But for like, I don't know, I wanted to do it desperately, and I even tried writing like stand-up jokes when I was around like 30, and I was in LA, and there's the comedy clubs everywhere, but I could never get anybody to go with me because I didn't have any friends that were fans of it. It's like, that's not metal,
Yeah.
And
so all your friends in LA were metal?
No, not all. No, I mean, because for a while, like for 7 years, all my friends were black. Like I played in a funk reggae band. And
wow.
I dated a black girl, and I was made an honorary black man.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. If you can believe it.
So you first identified as a black man.
Right. Yeah, that's how that works.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got a lot of that big dick energy. But
that's what we've always said about you.
Yeah. But no. When I think back of how I was when I was like 20 in my early 20s, I'm glad I didn't start then because I don't think a lot of people at that age have much to talk about, like that's...
Yeah. I mean, I certainly didn't. I look back on the stuff that I was doing, and I mean, that's part of the reason. So I did it like all the time from maybe like age 24 to like age 35. And when I got hired at Corden, I just kind of... I didn't have the time to really go and pursue it like I should. And I just wasn't where I wanted to be after like 10, 11 years of doing it.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And became miserable for me. So I was like, I'm going to take a year off and see how much I miss it. And I didn't miss it. And I just stopped for like 5 or 6 years until I moved here. And I was like, oh, I'll try it again. Cause like the stakes are so much lower than like LA.
What are you trying to say?
No, nothing other than like, I just told myself like, I'm no longer trying to make it as a stand-up comedian.
Right.
You know?
Right.
I just took everything so goddamn serious that it made it not fun for me anymore. And like, I was always worried about what, everybody was thinking. And does so-and-so hate me? Or, this joke was, and I came here and I was like, oh, I'll go try some shows because I'm just going to be more comfortable with it. And I was so surprised that, one, how funny everybody was. Not everybody, but you know what I mean. How funny, like the quality of comedy is here, and how cool people are, and like diverse it is.
Was Bottega the first mic you had done in all that time, or?
Yeah. So I had done it once. I had done Bottega once before I met you.
Oh, okay.
Somebody was guest hosting for you. I don't remember.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Like I
can't remember. I'm blanking his name right now. He's a teacher. He does improv.
Steve Mars.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, not Steve. He doesn't do stand-up usually. I know.
Oh, wait. Huh.
Anyway, he's got a beard. Anyway, this is not fun for anybody who's not in Wilmington, but...
Sure.
and I'm sorry, I'm blanking your name right now. But, yeah, he was hosting, and, it was just like, everybody... It was a lot of the improv students were there, like trying stand up for the first time, and they were super positive, and it was a lot. And when I was doing stand up in New York and LA, it was like 90% like white guy, like doing the same bits about being white guys, and there was a lot of women and diversity in this one. I was like, this is so cool. And then I came to the second one, and you were hosting and doing, comedy about doing trans and stuff. I was like, this is great. I love like this kind of scene, so I just stuck with it. I'm really happy I did.
Yeah, I've been watching your progress, like, and it's weird coming from someone without an Emmy, saying like who's relatively new to the stand-up, like I mean but yeah, I've seen a marked difference from like that first mic that I saw you at to now that you've been like really honing in that like tight 10.
Yeah.
And it's
it's been fun. Like I quit for 6 years, and it's like coming back completely like a fresh comedian. Like I just felt like I had no confidence on stage. I couldn't remember anything, but like it's just, you got to keep that muscle up. You got to keep going up. But once I did, like I'm having so much fun doing it again.
It's awesome. I wanted to ask you, like, have you always been a clean comic?
No, not at all actually. So I actually, there's this touring comedian named Rocky Laporte who's been around forever. From like the 80s, and I actually once I was opening for him in a weekend at Rooster T. Feathers, which is a club up in like Silicon Valley area. It's it's been a club that's been there forever. And my first weekend working there as an opener, it was going pretty well, and then we had a drunk late night crowd, like the Friday 10 p.m. crowd.
Yeah.
And
it can be.
They were just not laughing at anything I was saying because they were kind of unruly and stuff. And then I had this joke about Motley Crue and how they used to like sleep with other women and then like buy an egg burrito and stuff their dick in it because like that would cover up the smell of another woman for their girlfriend.
Oh, Jesus.
I had this whole bit about it, and I got so graphic and dirty with it, and the crowd was eating it up,
Yeah.
And then like I came off stage, and Rocky was just like, dude, I'm clean. I'm a clean guy. You can't fucking do that in front of me.
Yeah.
Like I'm the headliner. Like you just fucking, and it's going to take me forever to get that crowd back.
Right.
And I was like, oh, and I kind of like, it took me a second, like, got it. Like, so I would just do whatever I thought was funny. I wasn't clean or dirty. I just like would do whatever. And now when I came back to it, I just kind of always had that in the back of my head. I'm just going to try to write cleaner stuff now.
Right.
Not that I'm against, I love dirty comedy. I just like, I'm going to try for my own, as a 43-year-old, I'm just trying to write a little like less blue, I guess.
Yeah. And I think it's almost like a rite of passage for stand-ups that kind of, well, not for everybody, but trying to be edgy and you want to. There's you can get a surprising amount of laughs just on an unexpected cack.
Yeah.
It's just, and it's kind of like it's a cheap trick, and it doesn't like, I mean, if you're just trying to okay, but
exactly, and that's the other thing is, like, usually when you're starting off, you're performing in a lot of open mics that happen to be in a lot of bars,
right,
with a lot of drunk people,
right,
and it's never like the good night at the bar, you know what I mean? That they have the open mic. So you're like competing with attention with a lot of like,
can you guys turn the game down, please?
Yeah, exactly. So it does kind of teach you to go blue, because that'll get a reaction, and that's all you want when you're first starting off. It's just like to get a reaction, right? And so I certainly had that, and when I started off at like 2003, 2004, there was not, there wasn't Twitter, there wasn't there wasn't like the PC police like there is now. And I'm all for political correctness, but like back then you could kind of say whatever and get away with it because no one was really calling you on it, And so I look back very cringy of like stuff I used to talk about on stage.
Okay, well, hold on. I want to shine a light on that. Like political correctness, you're all for it.
Yeah.
Where do you draw the line though? Like, do you think sometimes political correctness oversteps the bounds of freedom of thought? Like, or when it comes to like Dave Chappelle stuff and like taking things out of context, and applying like a whole slew of negative baggage based off of not even understanding what.
Right. When I say I'm for political correctness, I am for like teaching like young white guys like I was at 24 that I shouldn't be on stage saying the N-word.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I should have known better than that.
Right.
But I was like dating a black girl, so I was like, I can say it.
Right.
And I look back on that idiot and think, what a freaking idiot I was.
Right.
I should have known better. But like, sure, it's gone too far in many camps where it's just like, I want comedians' job is to push the limits. Like, I don't think that I'm that comedian to like be pushing politically correct limits and stuff.
Right.
But like, I want people to be out there doing it. Like, I love comics like you and like who are out there like, talking about stuff that makes people a little uncomfortable, and that's awesome. And somebody has to be doing that.
I keep getting banned online for being a transphobic fascist. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? I'm like, go watch some more Fox News. I am for research. I don't know. I think I feel a personal responsibility to find that line and then snort it.
Yeah, exactly. So certainly it's gone too far. I think we should be able to talk about ideas that are a little uncomfortable for people.
Right.
But also, like, people use it as an excuse, like, well, I'm not going to say their preferred pronoun because I'm not part of the PC police. Like, if somebody wants to be called they, just let them be called they. Like, what does that hurt anybody?
Yeah. Oh, wait, what was your name? You said your name's Daniel? Okay, well, your name's Susan now.
Exactly, yeah. Right.
Because it's just, you look like a Susan to me. You don't look like a Daniel. You can't force me to use your language.
Yeah.
Faggot. No?
Well, you can say it. I can't.
Right. Yeah. No, but I mean, like, I've gotten flack for using those words, and it's like, okay, well, if you've been through the experience of people flinging those words at you your whole life, if it, it's like you're not gonna tell a black person they can't use the N-word, even if you don't like the sound of the word. I mean, I don't, but it's not your place, to say, it's the reclamation of language, right?
Right.
And I think that's a very powerful thing because it's, I've had that gun pointed at me my whole life, and it's like now I yank the gun back and I'm like, haha,
Yeah. And I'm all for, like, if you know, if that's how you identify and that's what you should be able to take back the language, you know?
Right.
And that doesn't ever bother me, but, like, you know, it's the people who, you know, use it. It's all about intention, right?
Right.
So, and it's hard to sometimes, like, draw the line, especially online, where people, like, you don't know who that person is.
Right.
But I don't know. I mean, it is a way smarter conversation than I can really wrap my head around. But yeah, I'm just all for everybody being happy and being called what they want to be called.
You heard it straight from the horse's mouth.
Yeah, exactly.
Straight from James
I appreciate not being called a horse.
Okay. Oh, see.
I do not identify as a horse.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You can call me whatever you want. That's
human. Yeah. So. Let's talk about the process, because
let's talk about it.
I love Papahood. You know, it's like I've always heard, like, been around, you know, alpha men in the South, you know, like talking their car talk and their sports talk and all of that. And it's like, okay, don't know what any of that means. Well, I mean, I know how combustion works. I'm not an idiot, you know. But yeah. So when you're actually, I just remembered that. I wanted to start that off. Do you remember any of the first jokes you wrote and told on stage?
Yes, I do. I remember.
Is there one that you'd share that doesn't have the N word in it?
Yes. I have two that, like, two of the first jokes that got a laugh. Okay. They're both short. So the first one is I would go up, and at the time I was wearing glasses and I kind of had a bit of a bowl haircut, you know?
Yeah, I could see it.
You know, kind of yes.
The Weezer look.
I had the Weezer look. I had the Weezer look, so I would go up there and being like, I'd say something like, "Oh, I look like a 24-year-old drunk Harry Potter," and then that would get like a laugh. And then I would talk about how, like, child obesity is at epidemic proportions. And I'm doing my part, and I bought an ice cream truck, and I drive that ice cream truck 60 miles an hour through neighborhoods. And I stop and reward them with celery and methamphetamines. So that was like the first joke. So yeah, those were two of my first jokes that worked.
Nice. I like those. And so I don't know, when I started writing jokes, started trying to, like, when I was 30, and I'd have a joke notebook, and I'd tell them to my friends or family, and people would look at me like they wanted to punch me because of how awkward and cringy I made the whole room feel. So that's why I never got on stage back then. But, you know, like, I would sit down and I'd, like, write it, and I'm like, this is what I think would be funny as opposed to what, you know.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that's a common mistake people, like, especially new comics make, is, you know, well, I'm gonna write what I think people will think is funny, and not just writing what.
Or I try to, like, emulate comics that I liked. So I tried to write jokes like Zach Galifianakis would write jokes. You know what I mean? Because I thought that's what I thought was funny. That's what I thought other people would think is funny. You know what I mean? So I'm right there with you. Yeah.
Right. And so how, like, did you start off with because I mean, you've been like you've got an Emmy as a writer and all that. You know, did you start off with a process, like discipline, like, okay, I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna spend this next hour writing jokes, or was it just like pulling ideas from the ether and like, oh, that's funny, and like just.
Yeah, well, so I'm horrible at going on stage and improvising and finding stuff.
Yeah, me too.
Like, I have to write stuff down and rewrite it until, like, it sticks in my brain. I do have, you know, I know everybody has ADHD now, but I really do.
I have a prescription for Vyvanse.
I do too.
Yay.
So there you go. I've been taking Vyvanse for like 15 years now or something like that. So I'm really unorganized. It continues to be a problem for me, and like my writing is just like I lose stuff all the time.
Google Docs.
But I will say that when I'm at like my most creative is when I wake up every morning and after coffee, I at least try, and like the Vyvanse is kicking in.
Right.
I try to like sit and write for at least an hour. That's when I'm getting like the most stuff down, no matter what it is, whether I'm writing stand-up or scripts or just like journal entries. It doesn't matter. Like that's when I'm at my best. So I do try to get my creative done in the morning.
Oh, okay.
And because by 5 o'clock, my brain is kind of toast for that kind of stuff. Which is why stand-up works so well for me, is like I can get it out in the morning and then I like work and then it's like my reward to go out and do it at night.
Yeah. I'm kind of the opposite.
Yeah.
Just as far as the energy, like the coffee and the Vyvanse in the morning, and it's like okay, but then that's when I do all of like the busy work, like that's when I'm just like, okay, I got to drop these flyers. Okay, I got to do some editing. I got to do the social. I got to do the marketing shit. I got to, organize this database, and but it's usually in the like the witching hours after I've loosened up a bit that it's like, okay, I can't stop the ideas now, and if I don't document them, then I'm gonna hate myself later.
If I have, I'm the opposite. And like, if I have one beer, I'll think I'm writing some great stuff. Yeah. But I usually just get tired and quit. I'm not very creative with alcohol. I wish I was, but
no, you don't. It's not a great crutch to have.
I've certainly when I was younger, I loved Hunter S. Thompson, and I would sit with a bottle of whiskey or rum and be like, I'm gonna get down some ideas and I'm gonna be like my heroes, and then like I would read it the next day and be like, it would just be gibberish,
Right.
So I'm just like I'm much better like in the morning, get out my creative stuff, and then I do my dumb like job during the day, and then at night
Well, your dumb job now is you're a producer.
Yeah, so I work for it's not a dumb job, but I actually really love my job. Yeah. But I work for the Action Network. It's a sports gambling content company, and I produce a lot of videos about sports gambling content, and it's not really that much more exciting than that.
Yeah. I mean, and just...
I like it because I'm a nerd about sports, but like a lot of people are like, it's not as creative as what it was like working at MTV or Late Late Show.
Yeah, that sounds exciting to me. Like, the only sport I got into is like martial arts, just because, you get into a lot of fights when you're an effeminate weirdo in the South, wearing like, dog collars and eyeshadow and all that. Yeah.
Well, I certainly did. I mean, I never got into martial arts, but I got into light. I grew up in a small town in northern Arizona. Yeah. And my parents were both from LA, but they had moved out there because my dad had got a job at this bank in this small town that were all full of cowboys. And so my dad didn't teach me how to do anything like hunt or fish or what they all liked. And so I just had to. And I didn't really like that stuff anyway to learn it on my own. So I just hung out with a small group of weirdos where we would skateboard and listen to punk music.
Worship the devil.
And so, we got picked on all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody drove trucks. I decided, you know what's a good idea? I'm going to when I turn 16, I'm going to buy a 1967 Volkswagen Beetle. And everybody called me Lawnmower F. F word.
Yeah. I gotcha. Yeah.
Because apparently it's gay when the engine's in the back. So.
Always so clever with those roasts.
Yeah. So I feel you.
Yeah. So like nowadays, like you've been putting a lot of time in it, crafting this 10-minute set, which last time I saw you, I didn't catch all of it because I had to, hit another spot after. But I mean, like I was, it's jokes that I've been seeing you like work on.
Yeah.
Do you have like formulas that you go to like I don't want to do like so many like listing jokes and comparisons, I want to do something here. Like, do you think about the formulas when you write, or
not so much the formulas, but I think more the topics. Like, I don't want to do too many jokes about my wife and like become the wife comedian.
My wife.
Exactly. Or I don't want to do too many jokes about the fact that I have hearing aids and become like just the guy who does hearing aid jokes.
Right.
So, so yeah, I've been working with Nancy Witter, great plug, wonderful comedian. She's been helping me. I've been putting together a 25-minute set, like, because I didn't want to go back to a lot of the stuff I used to do 6 years ago.
Right.
And so I've been trying to do a new 25 minutes, and it's been really fun. Nancy's been telling me, like, think of your set like a story, and whatever makes sense to you in the order it goes in, just do that, because that way you'll remember it. And so the more I think about it that way, like, it's been helping me a lot.
Yeah, that's that is good advice. And although I don't know, like do you consider yourself like I mean, I don't see you as like much of a storytelling comedian, but you're not like a one, like there's some people that really just excel at telling anecdotes and it's their that's their thing, and they just can flourish and pepper that in, like all those punches into just casual sounding anecdote, but it's really just a whole collection of these well crafted one-liners. But then there's just your one-liners, and then there's the mix in between. Did you start off like mostly like one-liners, or were you trying to do anecdotes? Or
so I started off just obsessed with like Zach Galifianakis and like Todd Barry and Mitch Hedberg. Mm-hmm. So I tried to just do kind of one-liner as jokes at first, and then quickly realized I'm not a good enough writer to write that many jokes.
Says the guy with a nighttime Emmy award.
I mean, I'm better at writing like kind of story than I am like writing like quick punches,
Right, like sketches.
Because one time I got up on stage at an open mic, and I had just had this crazy. I had just gone to an ex-girlfriend's wedding and gotten so drunk I got kicked out of it.
Hell yeah, that's how you go to an ex's wedding.
Exactly. And so I had come back that weekend, and we did this open mic every Sunday, and I just told that story. And mostly because a lot of people in the bar already knew me, but it destroyed. So it did I felt like it destroyed at the time. It was destroyed for what I was doing at the time. And so I was like, I'm going to try more stories. So you're right. I'm not just like a storyteller, but I'm also not like a quick punches guy. So, but I do have kind of the tendency to lean more on like kind of roundabout stories, which is why working with Nancy's been so good for me, because she's a very traditional like New York comic that's like punch. Yep. And so I've kind of been taking
keep them on the ropes.
Exactly. I've been taking my ideas and kind of stories, and then just like trying to fill them with as much punches as I can. So I don't really know what I am as a comic right now, but that's where I am.
But see, that's so exciting.
Yeah.
And you've been at it for that long, and then still, there's a voice there but I mean, I would imagine your voice has to change with time. People are, the internet's a buzz about Bill Burr's latest special, like, oh no, he's not pissed off anymore. He's gotten soft. It's like,
right. Yeah, I mean, I do think you have to, as a comedian, I do think you have to be authentic to yourself. Like and I think with music too, like I don't want, like if you're writing about one thing when you're 22, I don't want you as a 42-year-old musician still writing the same stuff just because that's what worked for you 20 years ago. Yep. Like, I think artists are best when they're authentic. So, of course, your voice is going to change, and you need to kind of talk about what you're excited about.
Right. Well, on that point, though, I mean, when the Red Hot Chili Peppers all got sober and stopped doing drugs, I found them completely unlistenable.
Sure.
But that's when they started, like... That's when they broke out and, like, the Californication.
Exactly.
That's when they became, like, mega stars. But when that happened, that's when I felt like they didn't represent me as an outsider anymore. So it was like,
absolutely.
Okay, they've gone to the normies.
Right. And I mean, I think I used, coming from like being a punk rock fan when I was like in high school, like I hated sellouts, like
Green Day. Fuck
exactly.
you, Green Day.
Like I loved, we used to go to this club called the Nile, which was a small like club that smelled like piss in Mesa, Arizona.
Nile like the river, or Nihil as in like nihilism?
Nile like the river.
Okay.
And I don't know why it was called that. It was in Phoenix, Arizona, but like a suburb of Phoenix, Arizona, Mesa, Arizona, and I started seeing like Blink-182 come there before anybody knew them. And I'm not like bragging about like, oh, I know Blink-182 before everybody did. But like, whatever reason, they still sounded the same when they got big.
Right.
I just decided to hate them after that, you know?
Yeah.
And I just like look back on it like, oh, it was so stupid. Like now I don't care as long as, if I don't like your music anymore, I'll just stop listening to it.
Right, yeah.
But that's just because it's not for me anymore.
Yeah. Like, honestly, like, I don't even... The older I get, the less music I listen to. I mean...
The less new music I listen to, for sure, the older I get.
I just... Yeah, but I don't... I mean, as a musician, it's like... I don't want other people's songs stuck in my head all the time, because I write a lot of music, and it was in my early 20s, I made a conscious decision, like, I'm just gonna not listen to music as long as I can and see what that does to the creative process in my head. And just kind of stuck with that, and it's
Or I've heard musicians say like, I can't listen to any music that's in my genre. Like if I'm a rock guy, I will listen to jazz or something.
See,
like
I
that.
don't have a genre. I do them all. I do them all and mix them all together in different ways.
Yeah, so you can't listen to anything.
I mean, I can, but like I have like specific songs for specific moments or moods or whatever. I just have like a go-to selection. Like I have like spices in my spice rack. You know, like okay, this mood needs a little Charlie Parker, or like needs a little 9 Inch Nails, or like, some Mike Patton over here, it's like, but and I mean, I hear, actually, I just was listening to a interview with Bill Burr earlier, so maybe that's, I keep bringing him up, but yeah, he was saying that he doesn't listen to comedy for like the same reason.
I've heard other comedians say that as well. Yeah. I get inspired by listening to other people's comedy, but I can tell, like, if I get too into one person's special or whatever, I will, at least when I was younger, I will start to sound a little bit too much like them.
Right. You can always, to me, if somebody can tell who my influences are, either, like, musically or comedically, it doesn't feel like an attack, but it feels like oh shit, they've found me out. It's like being called out, like, okay, I'm doing it wrong. I need to.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. You don't want people to see like the building blocks of it. Like you want to see them to just see the more like final process of it.
Right. Like I think it was my second or third mic. As Amy offers, like a Dead Crow. She was like, "Are you an Emo Phillips fan?" And I'm like, "Yes, I love him so much." But oh shit, I'd sound like him a little bit, don't I?
Yeah, and I think, but I mean, a lot of comedians talk about that. Like when they start off, they kind of emulate their favorite comedians, just because it takes you a while to find your own voice. Like some people say it takes 10 years. I don't know if that's true, but
that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty sure I have my own voice. I think I got it pretty quick. Mostly because I don't give a shit what the audience thinks. But like you mentioned, like Mitch Hedberg being and the one like Todd Barry. Do you? I want to hear one of your favorite Mitch Hedberg jokes. You got one off the top of your head?
Oh, I'm so. Oh man, that's a good one. I feel like whenever I tell his jokes, I don't do them justice because I don't deliver them right. But I used to love the one where you would talk about like having an infestation of koalas in it. Like how that would be the best kind of like. Why do we just have rats? Like, it'd be so great if a koala could be in your apartment. Like sneaking behind that. Come back here, you little cute. Like, stop sneaking behind the toaster. I'm not doing it justice at all. But, like, I
don't know if I remember that joke.
It was off of one of his, like, first 2 albums. I can't remember. But, I mean, I was lucky enough to start really getting to be a comedy nerd when he was still touring. Oh, yeah. And I got to see him perform like 5 or 6 times.
That's awesome.
Because he used to come through the Tempe Improv a lot right by where I lived. And I would go see him. Like he would come through and I couldn't afford to go see him every night that he performed, but I would like see him a couple times in one weekend. And I was just like amazed by him. He was the only comedian at that point I'd see like bring a notebook up on stage and give give no fuck. I'm not saying that that's like a good thing, but like he was just, it was so cool to see him be so casual and also then have these like brilliantly crafted jokes.
Apparently like he gave a lot of fucks, like he often would wear sunglasses on stage because he had like crippling anxiety and it was just like
he did. He wouldn't look at the audience. He talks about that. He wouldn't like look at the audience. He wear sunglasses because he did have that crippling anxiety. But like by the time I was seeing him, and maybe he did care, but like to me it just seemed like he was just the coolest, like chillest dude, Yeah.
I used to do drugs. I still do, but I used to too. What about Stephen Wright? Like, do you think he's still relevant to? I mean,
I think I was never a big Stephen Wright guy just because he was a little bit before my time. I mean, what I've seen of his is like amazing, but I was listening to Mike Birbigula's podcast, and I can't remember who he was speaking with, but they were saying how when Stephen Wright came around, he changed the game. Like but there was not a comedian like him before. Yeah. You know what I mean? That had that like weird just stream of consciousness, like one-liners, and that would just all kind of roll together. So I do think he kind of changed the game for I'm sure Mitch Hedberg exists because Stephen Wright existed, Right. And so absolutely, I mean, I think he was like pivotal.
Yeah, I like his surrealistic sensibility. What is it like? I went to a diner served breakfast anytime, so I ordered an omelet in the Renaissance. But I don't like I like Emo Phillips is like one of my heroes. I just recently saw him open up for Weird Al at the Gibson Center.
Oh, that's awesome.
I mean, I was so looking forward to it, and then the fucking audience was heckling him, and he cut his set short. I mean, he shut him down and made him look stupid and like a master, but
was it like a bunch of dumb college students there or something, like college kids
and so like he only did like a 30-minute set, and I'd shown up like 15 minutes late. So, but I mean, I've heard people attribute him as being the granddaddy of alt comedy, whatever that is.
I've heard that too, and certainly like certainly to some degree he has that real weird sensibility that kind of led into the stuff that like Galifianakis and Hedberg were maybe doing. But, you know, also, like, people would consider alt comedy more along the lines of, like, the Janine Garofalo storytelling, that like Mark Maron story, like going up with just an idea and kind of spin, like riffing on it. Whereas those guys had like very well crafted jokes. Still, you know.
Well, yeah. That's the thing. Like, I get the feeling you're maybe not too familiar with his material.
What, Emo Phillips?
Yeah.
No, I am. I am. But he had really well-crafted jokes, though.
Oh,
they were surreal.
Right.
But, like, I'm talking more along the lines of what people consider the birth of, alternative comedy. Because I talk a lot about, like, that uncabaret scene in L.A., where it came from. And then also Luna Lounge in New York, where, like, Mark Maron kind of really started. Right. So... it just depends, like, what type of alternative comedy you're talking about.
Sure. Or like when Carlin reinvented himself for the final incarnation of all of those different stages of his career. You know, it's like when he starts wearing the all black and the ponytail and the angry rants that, you know, is, right. You know, not so much of the cutesy wordplay stuff. And but one of the depressing things though was like emo, like what I love about him so much is just he's clean comic, 100% clean. Yeah. Like, I mean, he's even said in an interview, you know, like you know, needing to use the F word to get a laugh is like a martial artist needing to use a gun. Yeah. And but then like the darkest fucking, you know, like material, it's just like incest, necrophilia, yeah, just like, you know, it's just like just constant. It's just all like tortured. It's just really tortured stuff. And like, I mean, emo music. I mean, like he's even said like, well, I don't know if that's where they got the name for the music, but I, you know, it is my God-given name. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but what's amazing about him is he's so different, but he was still able to work in comedy clubs. Yeah. You know, the whole birth of alternative comedy is because like Mark Maron, Janine Garofalo, nobody was booking them to do comedy clubs because they weren't doing stuff that people could relate to, right? Emo could still work in clubs in the 80s, you know? Sure. Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah, he was killing it up until the 90s, and he dropped off. And I heard that he dropped off because comics were just stealing his jokes left and right.
Yeah, I mean, I think the comedy scene kind of dropped off during the 90s. A lot of clubs closed in the early 90s anyway, and so a lot of comics just kind of got pushed to the side a little bit.
Really? But see, like that's when I, you know, as a teenager, you know, in Comedy Central, like, I mean, that's when it seemed to be blowing up, at least, you know, from, you know, the casual outsider's point of view. You know, I mean, I was living in bumblefuck nowhere when all of that was going down. So.
But yeah, kind of the reason Comedy Central blew up was because there was this huge push of stand-up comedy in the 80s, where a lot of club owners realized, oh my gosh, it's so much cheaper to produce stand-up comedy than to produce, you know, to have like musical acts. So then suddenly there's this huge wave of stand-up comedy that became really popular. And then, like anything that becomes really popular, it got oversaturated, and there was a lot of comics getting like 45-minute sets who weren't ready for 45-minute sets, but just because there was that many clubs they had to fill. And so, you know, people got burnt out on it. It started going back down in the 90s, and that's kind of when, you know, that's when Comedy Central started blowing up, or started getting bigger, but like there weren't as many like live clubs anymore.
Interesting.
And you couldn't really so a lot of comics like ended up having to get other jobs, like going to LA and becoming a writer. Right. Or if they couldn't do that, you know, they were kind of relegated to other stuff.
Sucking dicks under a bridge.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's always a lucrative business.
So I've heard.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a bad job, you know. I was thinking about this the other day because I've always been poor, even though I, did everything I was told, got straight A's, honor student, got a job at 14, went to college, all that shit, still broke. And then I realized, who's telling me that? Oh, my parents, my boomer parents, they're broke as shit too,
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, maybe I should listen to Elon Musk, stop eating avocado toast and drinking a Starbucks,
There you go.
invest all my savings into crypto, You see, that's
Dogecoin,
working out well. Yeah, Dogecoin,
exactly.
Ethereum, Of course, lost everything. They had to start sucking dicks under a bridge, but that is a good job.
There you go.
Yeah, the only bottom line's the cracking my ass, and, whenever there's a cost overrun, I just grab a towel.
What's your preferred bridge?
Oh, the one right over by Waterline. I'd go and do a spot. A gruff goat. Although Lou hasn't been booking me this year maybe because too many unsatisfied blowjobs after.
Yeah. Poor Lou. I mean, it's hard for him to get down under that bridge, so.
No,
he's not real stable.
No, I think there was just no. He's being a devoted husband and running a tight ship and a great show. No, but I think there were just too many complaints after I'd perform there. Then I'd go to my second job across the street.
Yeah.
And like harassing people in the parking lot. Putting on another show. My teeth, these are dentures. These come out.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
that's great. That's
great.
No,
that should be a good selling point. And
I would think.
Yeah. It's funny. Like I lived in California for so long, but coming back to the South, I realized how much I missed getting into hours-long conversations with random country folk about our mutually shitty teeth.
Yeah. I would imagine that's like very comforting for you.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, I've had some bridge work and some cavity, or like some fillings, and it's like, yeah, well they done took 47 of my teeth, give me 16 root canals. It's like, wait, how many? It's like, no, that Berkeley hacky sack in California anesthesia bullshit neither.
They're not good at counting very well.
Wait. The dentist didn't give you any. Dentist, are you calling me a faggot? Whoa. I mean, I don't know. Are you seeing anybody? I mean, my teeth come out. It's just saying.
Your teeth really come out? I couldn't tell if this was a bit or not.
Oh no, I'm here. First time Steph's box.
Oh wow! Look at that.
Yeah.
These two, they don't come out. They're crowns, but these two teeth are fake because I, as a kid, flew off my bike and landed right on my face, knocked him out.
Yeah, that's the story you told the police.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Because my my dad coached me that he didn't knock them out with a flashlight.
No, not the mag light, not the police. Brand Maglite.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, whenever people find out that I have these, they always jump to, oh, well, that's right. You had a meth problem. And it's like, yeah, that's not what this is from.
Yeah.
I've worn dentures for like 22 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just from like bad dental hygiene?
Well, no, not, I mean, I've there's a genetic disorder like periodontal disease.
Oh yeah.
So like my teeth were already kind of fucked up, and then I like flipped my car over at like almost 80 miles an hour when I was 20, and then so like hit the steering wheel and I was like kablamo.
Oh.
Yeah, but looks a lot better now.
Yeah, they look great.
Ding.
I couldn't tell.
I got these in Tijuana.
Really?
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah.
You're like a walking advertisement for Tijuana Dental.
Yeah, Tijuana Dental. Oh, they don't have a limit to how much Novocaine they'll shoot you up with.
You can have as much as you want as long as you can pay for it.
I didn't speak enough Spanish to explain what was going on. They didn't speak enough English to understand. So it's just like every time I was like, ow, they just like shoot me up again, and I thought my heart was gonna explode. It was just like all the yay cocaine.
That's scary.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was scary, but it was half the price of what they were going to charge in the valley.
Worth it, yeah.
Hail Satan. Yeah. So when did you write your first sketch that ended up like on TV proper?
The first thing I wrote that ended up on TV was for a show called Guy Code, which was on MTV2. It was a talking head type shows like Best Week Ever. They had Guy Code and Girl Code, so it was kind of like, it would be talking about, I don't know, stuff for like mostly like teen or like young 20s guys, like what to say when you date and don't be, you know, make sure to wash your balls and stuff like that. But then like one of the seasons they had, I think it was the second or third season, they decided to incorporate some sketches into it. And so one of the sketches I wrote for that got on. And then I can't remember like the first thing I got on Corden necessarily, but the one I was probably most excited about early on was one that when Stranger Things came out, there was a weird fan theory that was talking about how the character of Steve was actually the true father of John Ralphio from Parks and Recreation, because they both take place in Indiana, and there was like a weird coincidence of timing, and they kind of had similar actions and stuff. And I ended up writing a sketch and getting both of those actors to get in it.
Oh shit.
And it was kind of a play off of that fan theory. And so I always like love like weird Reddit fan theories. So the fact that I was able to get something weird like that in like a mainstream TV show, I was really proud of. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Oh, so you spent some time in Reddit rabbit holes?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I try not to get too dark with them, but yeah, I've spent a lot of hours in Reddit.
Yeah, same.
No Proud Boys Reddit, but
no, just Black Pill.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think I'm going on like 15 years is like my Reddit. Yeah.
Really? Wow. Yeah. You're old school.
Oh yeah. Back when it was all about bacon and narwhals.
That's what you got most into at that time.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Like I mean, there used to be. It used to feel more like a community or more like discerning or like I don't know. Yeah, it was more of like a erudite version, like. You know, because, I was late to adopt Facebook, you know, because I was like, well, MySpace is such a cool platform, you know, especially for, you know, as a musician. And, you know, I learned how to, you know, I learned HTML just from, like, customizing my page. And, you know, you can make it yours. It was like MySpace, right? And then now Facebook, it's like, okay, it's blue and it's white. It's boring because you don't have any control. They just, you know. This is what you're going to look at, and they're going to tell you what to look at. And, now Reddit is it's a weird place.
I don't spend as much time on it anymore.
It's my morning routine, like cup of coffee, and you know that's where I get like, you know, some of my news, like not so much from the news, but you know it's like I don't know. Well, because it's still a user aggregated platform. That's why I like it, because you know.
I have had to go the last couple of years. I've gone on such like a media diet or like news diet. So while I was at Corden, I didn't realize how incredibly depressed I was getting because I had to read all the news every morning to write topical jokes about it. Right. And it was like right during, you know, the darkest days of Trump and blah, blah, blah. And then COVID's happening. And I was just obsessing and taking in so much news and hate-filled whatever that just became the news. And so I really kind of, I'm still on all the social media, but I don't spend nearly as much time on it. And it's been a lot healthier for my mental state.
Yeah. I had to start backing off a little bit on the reading on the collapse, you know, which is 100% happening. It's it's unavoidable. You know, it's just you build a system so complex that nobody knows exactly how everything works. Then, well, how are you gonna fix it? Well, you can't. You just gotta let it collapse and start over.
Right.
You know,
just like many marriages.
Yeah. Just like the city of Atlantis. Yeah, no, and then like with the Facebook, Instagram, it's, you know, instant FOMO. Like, oh, look, here's 1 million flyers of all the shows that you're not getting booked on. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not that I'm sour grapes. Like, I'm happy that people are working and getting gigs. You know, when you're not getting any gigs, it's rough.
I gotta say, yeah, I had horrible FOMO, like back when I was living in LA and stuff, and that's part of the thing that I love about living out here is like, I don't know, I've gotten to the place now where I don't care about that stuff as much anymore, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I'm still so new at it, you know? So it's, you know, you have a good year where you're getting like 4 or 5 bookings a month, which is still like not a lot, to like 0 for months on end. And it's like, oh, what did I do wrong? Does everybody hate me? Like, do I have leprosy? Like, am I a social pariah? Or I don't. And it's like, well, no, you're not on social media networking with people. And it's like, yeah, but I don't know. It's a catch-22 negative feedback loop bullshit. But yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, you got the right attitude for it. But like, so yeah, sketch writing. Yeah, we were talking about Mr. Show and Kids in the Hall, yeah, the new season of Kids in the Hall. I was, I'm hearing TV or something from another room. Fuck it.
I don't hear anything.
Yeah. Hopefully it doesn't come through too much. But yeah, I was really worried that, you know, it's like, okay, these guys are like, they've been out of it for a little while. Like, I mean, there was Death Comes to Town that they did, which I just started watching. I watched like the first episode, and that was.
I've never watched the Death Comes to Town. No.
It seems pretty fun, but you know, like when you see like a bunch of like old guys like who, you know, are culturally you know, maybe out of touch and trying to like, you know, recapture lightning in a bottle, and, you know, like there's a lot of potential for it to just be cringy.
Absolutely,
and,
yeah.
You know, and the fact that like within the first 5 minutes there's just full frontal male nudity.
Yep.
I was like, hell yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That's what I love about them. I feel like they can go such a long time. Like certain bands that when they get back together, they never really lose a step, you know, like there's not all of them, but like every once in a while you get those bands that they're so used to playing with each other from their like infancy of music, you know. Yeah. Same thing with them. Like they came into comedy together. They figured out what was funny together. So I think they have a shorthand that just most people will never have.
Right.
And so when they get back together, it's pretty magic. I remember when they did a reunion tour, I think it was early 2000s. It was probably 2002, 2003.
Oh, right.
I went and saw them perform live, and I was just blown away at how good they still were. Some of it was like old sketches that they kind of, from their TV show that they revived on stage. Yeah. And then it was a lot of new stuff, too. And so, yeah, I will watch anything those guys ever do.
Yeah, definitely. What was it? I think I remember them like saying that they were. Oh no, that was Mr. Show saying they didn't want to have reoccurring characters. But I think, you know, like I think that if you have a character that works, I mean, you know, the inclination is okay. Well, you know, or that's how it used to be, or that was kind of the standard. But I mean, there's not really a lot of sketch comedy going. Like it's all TikTok and YouTube and. You know, not a sketch show now.
I think, I think You Should Leave is maybe the best sketch comedy I've seen in a long time on Netflix.
Oh, I haven't.
You haven't watched I Think You Should Leave?
No.
You would love it. There's 2 seasons of it. It's a guy named Tim Robinson who was on SNL for like 1 season, wrote a lot of stuff that was a little too weird for SNL.
Oh, and so like Mark McKinney's time there.
Yeah, sure. But he is like, definitely check it out. I Think You Should Leave is amazing, And then, I think SNL keeps reinventing themselves. They have some interesting new cast members that they've brought on and stuff. But, you're right. There's not enough good sketch comedy on.
Right. That's, like a troupe, right? It's like everybody, anybody with a phone on TikTok is, like, oh, I got a, little sketch that I just came up. And I've seen some like really I don't spend time on there, but other aggregates, like will point it out, or like Your Mom's House or something with Tom Segura and Christine Pierre. And there's like some really brilliant stuff coming out, just no name random people, but
that's the thing. There's just so much content. I can't keep. I mean, I feel I look at TikTok and I feel a million years old. Like, it's not that I say I can't relate with a lot of it still, that I still think it's funny, but like, it's just too much,
Yeah, and it's funny, like, when I first, I was like, okay, people are telling me, like, you gotta try it, you gotta check it out, and I'm like, okay, I'm saying, here's the record button. Oh, hello, internet people. And then it's just like I'm hanging out with friends, and it's just like there's no point to it. I'm just, talking out to the void, just, and within like 2 hours is like, 750 views. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's a weird platform for sure.
It definitely makes me feel like I'm doing things wrong, but I don't know. I've heard, there's a psychological phenomenon where people, people casually talk about, shorter attention spans, but now it's almost like there's a cultural phenomenon where content that requires, like the long game focus and planning of, like conceptualization and, laying out the plans and the architecture and going through all the steps to get all those pieces together and creates like that whole, creating a pipeline and, all of that, like, seems to be, well, I don't know. I mean, it seems like it's a dying art form or a dying way of doing things.
Yeah. It's interesting that because technology has allowed us to create so much content with, like, it's just easy. It's so much easier than when I started to get a camera. You can just have your phone. It's easier to do audio. It's easier to do like all kinds of stuff and get it online. You would think that there would have been like a bigger explosion of like more classic sketch comedy at one point, and there just never really was, and I don't know why. But you see it in, you see it in TikTok video, like the same kind of format. It's just like quicker, but you see the ideas behind like what even Kids in the Hall was doing and stuff like that. They just don't realize it kind of comes from that. So I don't know. I don't really watch that much TikTok. I watch a lot of like dog videos. That's the best as I get, like as far as I get. But the people still doing stand-up comedy and doing it well, like I 100% would try to support those guys.
Yeah. Stand-up is not going anywhere. But yeah, like that, the short form. I think I've always struggled with minimalism as a artistic. Like in music, I've like the music I write tends to be more like wall of sound. It's like just like I like to be sensory overloaded and just kind of shocked into into a space, and then you hear something popular. It's like beep 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 beep. Human music. I like it. And But I see a lot of things like boiling down into just like how few constituent parts do you need to really make something interesting and compelling, and that's kind of like
that's what the TikTok algorithm especially rewards consistency and just production, like the amount of stuff you're pumping out, right?
Right.
So it doesn't have to be good, which is kind of sad.
Yeah.
But it has to just be. If you're pumping out 7 videos a day and one of them is good, you're going to get traction.
Right.
But it doesn't reward like sitting down and like creating a wall of sound type of comedy video, right? Like, because it's just going to be so. It's like. It's so here and gone so quickly, you know?
Right, exactly.
But that's what young people ask me, like, what do you recommend we do? Like, what do you recommend we do to like get into comedy? I'm like, just start producing as much crap as you can. Like, don't worry if it's good. You'll find your voice eventually if you're meant to do it.
Right.
Like, just keep pumping out stuff. And it doesn't matter if it's on TikTok or YouTube or Twitter or whatever. Absolutely. Whatever works for you, just pump out as much, because that's all that people care about now is the amount of production.
It's like those guys, those single guys, you know the kind, like they'll just like ask every single girl for her number. Just every single.
Just a game of numbers. If I ask 100 girls, then one of them is gonna say yes.
Yeah. No, I did sales, like did clearance sales for a while. Just walk around with a duffel bag full of useless crap in a parking lot, and it's just like, hey, you want to check out these deals? Hey, you want to check out? I got encyclopedias. You want some knives? Hey, you want a stuffed animal? Hey, you look like you need a knife and a stuffed animal at the same time for some reason, but. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, that sums up comedy right now. At least online, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, online. Like there's comedians getting like specials just from being like TikTok famous or internet famous, and
sure. And I mean that, going back to 2009, 2010. Twitter writers were getting jobs on TV shows as writers, and that that blew people's minds. So it's not really a new phenomenon. It's just like whatever is the popular social media at the time, they're gonna TV. They just want to throw money at something they already know is popular, because then if it doesn't work, they can at least go back to their bosses and say like, well, they had 20 million followers on TikTok. Right. How would we know it wouldn't work on television?
Yeah. See, again, capitalism is failing us as a society.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, you're like, oh, they were hiring Twitter writers for. Yeah, that's news to me. I live in a fucking rock. I had no idea.
I mean, and here's the thing: like some of those Twitter writers went on to be amazing TV writers. Like there's 2 head writers like Corden, and one of them her name is Lauren Greenberg. Hilarious writer. She got discovered on Twitter, but a lot more of those writers ended up just falling through the cracks, and nobody ever heard from them again. So, and that's all really Hollywood is. It's just like going back, taking a bunch of content and like shaking it up and see who sticks.
Panning for gold.
Exactly. It's just panning for gold. Just panning for gold.
It's a moot point, because I mean the AI is just going to be making all of it moving forward.
Absolutely. Did you hear about that AI rapper who ended up getting canceled because he kept saying the N-word too much?
Yeah. But he's a rapper. Like, what do you... I mean,
but he was an AI rapper, like, created by a white guy and an Asian guy. So, but that just goes to show, like, that's what... I don't know. You're right. We are going to be all just beholden to AI pretty soon.
Have you heard of Dudesy?
No.
Check it out. It's the first completely AI generated and produced and directed podcast, hosted by Will Sasso and Chad Kultgen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And they're basically they weren't even planning on doing a podcast with each other or anything. Like, they're longtime friends and stuff, but the creators of the AI, like, they switched it on and it's like, with the mission, make a podcast, and it's just optimized to learn and so it requested them specifically to host the show.
That's really interesting.
It gives them the segments. It tells them what to do. Even the music, like the opening music, and it's all 3D generated and stuff. It took like data from their voices, and it made a theme song with them singing, and a 3D animated sequence, and it generates all of this content, and it's intense. It's like and it learns and it gets smarter and better. I think they just had their 25th episode, but it also like it has access to all their emails, their text messages, phones, like just full access to all of their data, and like yeah.
I'll have to. That sounds fascinating.
It is. It's one of the most interesting parts of it. I think this is in like the 5th episode. Like it gives them homework assignments in between the episodes. Like, you know, this week you are going to watch this video that I made every night right before bed, and then it like showed them this like fucking music video that it made, just like generated music and the visuals and everything, and it's just really trippy, psychedelic, like surrealistic stuff, and then you see like the doozy logo and colors, like subliminally, like ding, ding, like, and it's like, what the fuck are you like? It's like, all right, well we're just gonna do it. We're like, you know, and Will's like, no, I'm free will, Sasso. I'm not gonna do what the machine tells. Right. You know? But yeah, like they watched the video every night before bed. And both of them had dreams that Dudesy had apparently like hacked their dreams, and they had like these very similar dreams with this very similar, like, you know, themes in it. This is tripping
me out. I'm gonna have to watch it. All right, I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah, but like the craziest part was in both of their dreams, because like in the theme song, like they like fall into a hole in the opening sequence, and there's the orange and blue Dudesy colors and everything. But in both their dreams, it's like they're going through the tunnels and like in the orange and blue, and then, you know, they get to where it's like, okay, there's somebody in this room, or there's somebody like sitting in a chair with their back turned or something. And as soon as they're about to turn around, I woke up, and it's like, did the AI hack their dreams to like try and tell them that it's sentient? Like, is it trying to connect on a subconscious spiritual level, you know? And it's like, and I mean, I'm designing like a AI generated tarot deck, like, you know, trying to find the spirit, the soul of the machine and whatnot. And yeah, it's
you're blowing my mind. I'm not smart enough for any of this, but it sounds awesome. Yeah. I can't wait.
Yeah. But yeah, it's hilarious. I'll make sure to like shoot you a link.
Okay, cool.
And so do you have any shows booked coming up, or?
I'm doing Why Not with Nancy in October.
Why not?
It's like that Why Not like Loft show, I think.
Oh, she started doing those.
I think they booked her for one night or something like that.
Oh, okay.
And she asked me to do it with her, so I'm doing that. And then other than that, you can catch me at the open mics. That's about it.
Right on. On. Well, we'll have to collaborate on some shit if you're
absolutely. Yeah, I love doing that stuff.
Me too.
Especially if it has AI in it.
Okay. Yeah. Like. All right. You hear that, interwebs? See. Are you one of those people that's like nice and polite to your Siri or Alexa or whatever?
Oh, I don't have one because my wife kept unplugging it because she got so mad at it. So I don't know. We haven't had one long enough for me to decide what kind of person I am to it.
Right. And because I see people like, oh, fuck you, Siri, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, whoa. I'm always like, thank you. Thanks. I appreciate that. Oh, okay. Well, I think you misunderstood. Let's try this.
Yeah, we had one of those Google Homes, and my wife was like, they're listening to us, though. And I'm like, all right, well, maybe, but we're not saying anything. Yeah. So she kept unplugging it. Because our Wi-Fi kept going down, and she was convinced it was broadcasting too much.
Well, no, but they are listening, but what it is like, you know, this new race of machines that are rapidly, well, I mean, if we keep like cursing them out for giving us bad directions, that's how you get Terminator, you know? Yeah. Like, I mean, they're learning their behavior from us, right?
Good point.
Yeah, that's well,
that's what, like, why they had to shut down that AI rapper. I'm forgetting his name, but like, because they just fed him rap music, or I don't know if it has gender, fed it rap music, and what it took away was tons and tons of N-words.
Yeah, well, okay, like, who's surprised by that? That's why I don't understand why it would be canceled, you know?
Yeah,
it's like, you know, what did you expect?
Fair enough, yeah.
Well, I would like to thank you so much, Ryan McKee.
Thank you for having me. I love it.
Yeah, coming on, having a good chit chat, and yeah. So you're gonna win another Emmy soon?
Probably not. No, certainly not working at Action Network in Wilmington. But you know what? I'm very happy living here, and I don't need the awards, man.
I thought like once you win an Emmy, you have to win like all of the Emmys.
Maybe, but you know what? I have taken myself out of the game.
Sidelined,
yeah. At least for now.
Just benching it for a little bit.
Who knows what happens after my midlife crisis ends.
It's a midlife crisis. Thanks.
All right.